Hello. I'm not sure if anybody is out there watching or not, but I am attempting to go live from my computer again instead of my phone. So hopefully this starts off okay. Um, so please just bear with me for a minute or so while I get everything going. And if you can let me know if you can see and hear me, that would be wonderful. I see Diane's here. Hi, Diane. This is kind of an impromptu thing. I took a bunch of photos this morning because there were 4 deer grazing in my backyard, and I actually got close enough from one of the windows to take some photos. So I just thought that'd be really fun. My photography is nothing to write home about, but I thought it would just be kind of fun. And also, I've wanted to use these some more. I got these many years ago. I bought them on sale at Blick, and they've come out with the Graphitint pan paints, and I've really been wanting to get them, but I can't justify it until I use these some more. So I thought it'd be also another good excuse to use these and put the want monster at bay, hopefully. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit more. It's been so long since I've done this, and they've changed the way it works. So I'm kind of hoping I can maybe zoom in a little bit more. If not, well, if not, right? I don't know. I'm gonna try one more thing. I've got my my flannel. It's chilly. Oh, good. People can hear. That's wonderful. Okay, I do want to zoom in a little bit more. I'm just not super aware of where all the controls are now, but I'm gonna try to do this from my webcam software. Sometimes it works. You guys are the best. You guys are just so wonderful and patient, and I love it. I have to try this one more time. I have to flip back and forth between screens. And it doesn't seem to be letting me zoom in at all, so luckily I have a fairly big sketchbook, and I'm just gonna go with that, I guess. Well, we tried. Okay, somebody says they love the view. At least it's clear, at least it's nice and crisp. Try to push my computer. You know what? That means I'll be able to have more supplies out though on the camera, which will be good, I guess. There we go. So I'm gonna bring my water pots in. I have 2 water pots, even though I'm using the watercolor pencils. I figure that it doesn't hurt to have extra water. This is what the pencils look like. And I guess I'll just put these in front of me like that, since we have all the room in the world here. And oh, you know what? I can work on both sides of my sketchbook. So this is I was looking for a larger sketchbook because I had a feeling I might have an issue zooming. And this is a Hahnemuhle watercolor book, and I've had this for many years. And I tend to like jump around in different sketchbooks. So we can just while we're waiting for people to show up, and I'm making sure my tech is all working. I gotta center myself under the camera. We're going to be like way off. Hopefully everyone can hear all right. I'm going to move my microphone in a little bit. This video is up on my YouTube channel. That was just a pedal exercise for my watercolor flower class. Just a lot of random stuff in here. This sketchbook's actually kind of expensive. This was when I did on location in Orono by the river, and I did a live class on this using using cotton paper on my YouTube channel. This sketchbook's kind of pricey though. I was just looking, it was like $45 for this size. This one, I think I have a time lapse on Sketchbook Sunday, which is just kind of another fun imagination bouquet. And yeah, I think I have that one. I think most of these actually have videos for them. So if you see something you like, then just scroll back on my channel. This one I painted at Acadia National Park at Sand Beach. That one, I don't think I have a video for that because I don't think I ever redid it. I think it was just an on location. I do have a video on these birds with praying like kid watercolors, which was kind of fun. And just a bunch of, I think there's a bouquet for this on YouTube. Similar techniques. I have also similar techniques in my watercolor floral workshop. if you need more information on that. I'm not sure if it's a time lapse or a real time one, but I think I did that around Memorial Day one year. And those are just some sketches from, just some samples from my landscape workshop that I just need some quick sketches. But yeah, this sketchbook has gotten kind of expensive. I think it was only around $25 or so, but now it's like up to 45. So I apologize for that being expensive. Use whatever you have. I also grabbed my Mungio watercolors because since we're going to be sketching fast, I thought that it would be nice to have a paint that flows really well. I don't like these for layering because they're kind of granular and opaque, but for like quick sketches, they're great because they flow and whoosh and give you some fun, spontaneous effects. So I grabbed those. If you have any of the Prima Marketing or Jane Davenport watercolors, they're the same watercolors. I think they're the exact same watercolors. They match up a little too closely for it to be a coincidence. So if you have those, they're going to be the same effect. I'm not sure if we're going to use these or not, but I wanted to have them just in case. So let me grab my phone and we'll look at the photos that I took this morning. And oh, I'm so glad everyone's there chatting. I can kind of see everything on my screen, which is nice with the webcam version. Oh, maybe we'll just start with this one. This is I zoomed in. This was from my, well, I couldn't open the door or they would have been spooked, but I took a photo from the I'll only turn it this way, from my living room, and there was a deer there, two there, and the deer kept like playing and it was so cute. But if I knew if I opened the door, they would run off, and also my dog would totally freak. So I like the gesture of that deer back there. So I think, I know it's not the greatest, oh, you know what's freaking me out? My picture is backwards. It's reversed on screen. That's why everything looks strange. So yeah, I'm probably just going to try not to look at the screen too much, just to make sure we're in focus, and that's about it. So let's just sketch this guy here. It's very granular because it's very, zoomed in, and it's just my cell phone. But we can get a basic shape. So that's what we're going to do. I've also set my phone up so that it will stay on for 15 minutes. So let me just touch the screen. Hopefully it'll be 15 minutes from now. That'll keep us as like a little bit of a time of running time, I think, so we don't spend too much time on one animal. I'm going to start with an oval to capture the body. Okay, I draw it in the air first, and then I touch my pencil down. So I try to break stuff down into basic shapes. Okay, and then off the oval, we've got a triangle. It's funny, deer actually have quite a long neck. If you see them, they will go and like scratch themselves or like be bathing, like licking themselves, especially if they're comfortable, which they are in the backyard sometimes because it's pretty surrounded by woods. Their necks are quite long, surprisingly. It usually doesn't look so much, but when you see them actually moving around. So now I'm going to get this kind of diamond shape for the face. Now, depending on the direction you're seeing the deer from, it may look more like a circle than a diamond. The age of the deer, the sex of the deer, all that stuff can make a difference. I've been wanting to live stream for so long. I'm so glad you guys are hanging out. Oh, wow, look at that. I see Sheila, and she's a super talented artist. Sheila Landry there. Oh, she's gorgeous. Gorgeous oil pastel work. Oh, my word. I think that's her medium. She does so many mediums well. She has a wonderful blog, too. And I got that one ear. The other ear, goodness, it's going to be hard to see because it is a kind of a far away photo, but I can see it, I think, clear enough. Look, it's just pixels when I zoom in that much, but sometimes that's good because you can't get bogged down with the detail when you are just looking at the basics. When you're just getting the basic shapes, you can't get bogged down. So here, what I do is when I'm trying to place the legs, I'm looking at the negative space. Look at the space in between the head and the legs. Now, your brain is going to say, hey, wait a minute, the head is not as long as that leg, but we got some foreshortening. The head is closer to us than that leg. So look at the length of the head and neck. It looks as long as the leg almost. So don't trust what you think you see. Trust what you actually see. So I'm looking at this space. I'm looking at the shape that is being made by the angle here. I got that face a little big. And this leg is coming almost straight down, maybe tipped ever so slightly, like to one direction. A little fatter at the top. Deer's legs are, it's weird when you look at them, you think, boy, those legs look so skinny. But that's how they are. You've got to trust what you see and not what you think you see. If you want to draw accurately, if you want to be stylized, then you don't have to. So I'm looking at the angle from the snout to the bottom of the leg. I've got a little bit too. So I got to make that kind of push out a little bit. And then it's oh, I wonder if I can erase that. I probably shouldn't have done that. Well, you know what? It's more important for you to see how to construct this rather than me having a beautiful drawing. So I'd probably erase that, but for your information. Now we've got this kind of like chest bone there, and it's making this shape here. I'm looking at the shape between the legs. And I will stop for questions in a little bit. I'm not looking at the chat right now just because and I think this knee should be up higher. And this should be a little bit slimmer. And the knee should be up here actually. So don't be afraid to change your mind. If you're like, oh, I got that wrong, don't just keep going with the wrongness. Stop and fix it. You will thank yourself as you get further down in the drawing and you're not overcompensating for everything. So just stop and redo it. Erase it if you have to. So now we've got the space in between the legs. I also thought the graphitint would be fun because I'm kind of heavy-handed when I draw. Get this knee in here. So this will just be more pigment that I'll be able to dissolve. And this foot appears to be up. See how it's kind of like off the ground there? So we've almost got like a little bit of a diamond or an oval. Then we're seeing the leg back here. We've got this rhombus kind of shape in here. Thank you, Annette. She said my drawing was easy to follow. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to draw this kind of triangular shape, and it gets real skinny right here from where we're seeing it. And then we're seeing this leg kind of coming forward, and this leg, I'm trying to decipher those two legs. So this leg is bent, the opposite legs are off the ground. So this leg's off the ground, and then the furthest one back there is going to be off the ground. And this one's actually giving support and coming straight down, or at just a slight angle. I had too much of an angle there, but I think that's all right because I'll just fix that I'll fix it when I get to the other one. And we'll plant that one right there in the ground. Nice and sturdy. It's too bad their little tails weren't flicking. Cute little tails. You have a little negative space in between the back legs. This back knee is kind of protruding out, and then it's the legs coming in here. We've got a thickness. I know it looks awkward, but it looks awkward there too. So if it looks awkward and that's how it looks, draw it that way. Now, because I knew that I wasn't going to have really great detail in these photos, so I did want to have products that were going to be kind of flowy, and that's why I grabbed my Mungio paints, because I might just want to have it kind of whooshy. What I never have my timing right. I would love to just, like, sometimes when I'm sitting on my balcony, the deer will be out eating, and but it's like if I run in, if I don't have my supplies out with me, I know I'll just spook them. So I figured getting photos and then doing this live on camera would actually give me that kind of same feeling of doing sketching it live with the deer. So we've got a little bit of a boniness here, and we got a little bit of a peak on the rump. Very barrelly bodied. I want to get that little bit where the neck is actually coming in, because like I remember I said the necks are deceptively long. They look shorter than they are. And I'm just going to throw in some shading. I'm going to shade this back leg. I just love the deer. I love the deer and I love the crows. Oh, I was making juice. We juiced a bunch of beets because my sister gave me a bunch of beets from her garden, and so many. She had done a bunch of pickled beets, but she had picked way too many, and so nobody's really huge beet fans around here. I like beets a lot and beet greens, so I'm like, well, I'm going to juice them because they're so healthy. And so I juiced a bunch of beets and some other veggies, and then I put the pulp out and I put them out for the crows, but I didn't think the crows would take them, so I just kind of threw them in the woods, and I put some on this big stump where I feed the crows. The deer came and they were like chowing down like it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. It was the cutest thing you ever saw. Mama and baby deer. Oh my gosh, so adorable. I just love them. Okay, so there is deer number one. So I think what we'll do is we'll go in with some water, and then we'll go in with some extra watercolors if we need to. We'll see how that looks, and then we'll go on to the next one. So I'm just having fun here. I hope you guys are too. Hope you have your sketchbooks out. I haven't used these Graphitints in so long, so I don't know how much pigment they're going to give me just on their own. This is a Roamac Revolution brush. It's a synthetic sable, and I grabbed this one instead of my Mimic squirrel ones because I thought they might have a little bit more oomph to push the paint. But I might actually end up going with a golden Taklon just because I think the pencil might need a little bit more. One of the reasons I wanted to get the Graphitint pans, which I haven't got yet, but I got an itchy. The want monster is pushing hard for those, is because they look like they would granulate really well, and granulating watercolor is so popular right now, and I love it. But I haven't bought any of the specialty granulating paints because it's like I know what pigments granulate that I already have. But the Graphitints just seem like they would granulate, even like they granulate as much as like all those really expensive granulating watercolors, but they're pretty affordable. Like in the pans, they're cheaper than the pencils right now, and you probably get a very equivalent amount of product. It's just you don't have the ability to sketch like with a pencil. So I don't know. I'm just like, Lindsay, you need to use what you have first, and then see if it's something you think you're really going to use, so it doesn't just go into the Museum of Art Supplies in the other room. I want to add it to the hoard. Well, I do want to add it to the hoard, but that was irresponsible. I think this guy's pretty cute, but I do think I'm going to want to add some more watercolor to it. I'm not sure if I have the most recent, because my Inktense are pretty old. I got them when they first came out, so I'm not sure, because I know they reformulated them. So I'm not even sure if my Inktense, oh my goodness, my Graphitint pencils are what there are, the reformulation. And I heard the reformulation's better. So I don't know. I have a feeling I probably have the older version just because I've had them for so long. They dissolve pretty well though. See, I'm not seeing a lot of graphite. I'm seeing mostly like pigment. Oh, I should have tried to erase that. I wonder if these erase. I have to be careful though, so I don't get. Oh, you know what? They erase pretty good. I just don't want to smear the wet stuff. I can erase it after it's dry. Try to go in there with a dry brush. Also, it would be kind of pretty to do some grasses, I think. Might as well, because their little paws are, the paws in the ground are, they're in the grass. And oh my gosh, we had so much rain up here in the Northeast that like the lawn has not slowed down. So I mean, it's good for the deer. They're getting all sorts of delectable goodies. But our had to mow so frequently. I say we, my husband's had to mow so frequently. I think I also want to see what would happen if I just did a little bit of I want to see how the side of this pencil, how much pigment I'll get there. Well, I'm really enjoying sketching with these, I gotta say. Just do a little bit of that. Oh, I love using up a sketchbook, and it's kind of fun when I find a sketchbook I completely forgot about it, and then I see like all the I want a different brush. And then I see all the artwork that I've done in it that I completely have forgotten about. Something I like to do like with grasses is to like just wet the bottom portions of them if I've done them in watercolor pencil, and let them like let the bottoms kind of bleed out, but leave the tops. Well, I think that might have been better with just a little bit more of a suggestion and less color, but oh well, live and learn, right? But then I can actually go back in with a pencil on the wet paper, and I can give it some more little grasses. If you have any questions, type the word question in all caps, and I'm going to take a peek for questions in a few minutes. And I'll be looking at the recent ones. I think I do want to add a little bit of watercolor. This is weird for me to have it on that side. You know what? I'm just going to scoop this over because I know I'll get confused if I'll drip it on my stuff if I go that way. Come on, you turn back around the right way. Now I can't really, I can't really see any detail, so I'm just going to be putting in very broad strokes. But then again, if I was outside sketching these guys, it would be very distant. I wouldn't be able to get detail anyway, so it would just be quick sketches. I'm going to use a little bit of black. Why not? I highly recommend you make a swatch chart with your watercolors. I was actually going to use my roses today, but I didn't. My swatch chart was in another sketchbook, and I don't use them enough to be really confident with what the colors are going to look like when they are painted out compared to how they look in the pans. So I went with these just because I knew I had a good swatch in here. I like this brown and black mix. Just looking for the basic dark tones. Get the eye area. Probably should have either let my paper dry completely or charged in with this watercolor when it was a little bit wetter. But I'll probably just go in and re-wet some areas and smooth things out a little bit. But this is just the first one. That's why I wanted to get some paint on, just so I could kind of get used to this paper and get used to the supplies, since they're not ones I use regularly. And I just think these particular Mungio paints are pretty when you just let the water and the paint do their thing. I noticed the deer didn't seem to have their spots, so I think they must be getting a little bit older. I think it was a mama and 3 babies, maybe. Got this guy's face a little bit bigger than its jaw a little bit bigger, but get that ear defined again. I lost the ear. All right, I think I'm going to leave this guy be. I think that's nice for our first sketch from really far away, and I'm going to go look for questions. I'm actually going to set this. I think I'm going to hit this with a heat tool because I don't want to smear it, but I can answer questions when I do that. Actually, my microphone's over there, so I'm going to heat it over here. Get away from the microphone. Okay, I'm going to be working backwards with a question, so they're going to be opposite of when they've been submitted. Question from Stephanie S. Can you do more videos on watercolor pencils? I'm having so much trouble figuring them out. I generally use watercolor pencils with other things, so they're usually kind of like I'll sketch with them and then I'll add paint. I will try to add another watercolor pencil one. I did just do one for Michael's, and it's on the Michael's YouTube channel. And I also have a video that's called Watercolor Pencils 101, and it goes like through everything you need to know pretty much. So that would be a great primer for you to check out if you're having trouble with the techniques and getting used to them and knowing what to do with them. Okay. Let's see. I'm scrolling back and looking for the word question in all caps. So if I miss your question, that might be why. Oh, I don't really see a question. Do you know Paul Rubin has watercolor pencils? No, I didn't know that. If they do, wow. if that's true, if you're asking me if they have them, I don't think they do, but if they do have them, then no, I don't know about them. You know what? I know White Knights has watercolor pencils, and I kind of wonder if they might be, if that's the case, if they might be the same. I just opened something up on my screen and it's covering the chat. I don't know how to get rid of it. Go away. I've got like the weather. The weather has come up on my up on my screen. I don't need to know the weather. I'm inside. Um, this is gonna be frustrating for people watching the replay. You can skip ahead, replay watchers. Oh, and on my screen is different. What did I do? Oh, I opened I opened Microsoft Edge. My computer, my laptop is kind of like on its last days. And I think I've caught up with the questions. Let me go back to the end. And so like the clicker doesn't work, so I have to like tap on the little touchpad, and then different things open up. It's very strange. Okay, so let's go to our next photo that we're going to sketch, and I'm just going to scroll through here. This is the type of photography I do, friends. We got half a deer here, not even the good half. Oh, there's a cutie. Get one where I've got, oh, that's a good one. So we will do this guy right here, and let's sketch him. Let's sketch him over here, and then we can see how the backside of this Hanmul paper looks and how it works. Maybe we'll do a different one of the Graphitint colors too. Maybe we'll do this. It looks kind of like a grayish brown. It's called Storm, so maybe it's more of a gray. But I find this deer looks a little bit more gray, so we'll do that. Let's start with a let's get the angles. I'm taking the pencil. I'll take a different pencil. So sometimes what I'll do is I will get the angle off the back of something. So you're going to make sure that if you're going from a photo, make sure it is parallel to your sketchbook. If you're at an easel and you're working like you're drawing architecture, try to get your sketchbook to be parallel, like at 90-degree angle, so that when you carry an angle over, it's being accurate. So, oh yeah, my angles actually was just about right. And you'll get good at this. It's just it just takes practice like anything else. So then we get the angle of the rump there. I'm just going to get this basic shape in here. Deer are surprisingly also thick around the middle. Like you might not realize that. Because we picture them as such graceful animals. They are very graceful when they're moving, but they kind of look like a potato with toothpick legs, really, when you look at them. And then we've got the neck. Got this kind of blocky chest bone here. And then look at the negative space. This is really great for negative space, though, because I've got the green against the brown. So I'm going to pull that off at almost like a right angle. The leg is coming down. And if I want to borrow an angle again, so I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to hold it up there. I'm going to say, okay, what's the angle? And sometimes I'll do it a couple times to make sure I have it right. So we borrow that angle, and we can just get that in there, right? And then the top half of the leg, let's see how far our knees going down to about there. And that's the thicker part of our leg. And then the angle does get a little bit more perpendicular as we come down. It flares out a little bit right before we get to the hoof. And I'm taking this photo through the window, so I'm looking down a little bit at the deer. So the deer is looking up at me because it's heard me. It heard me in the inside. And they get this little jewel down here. I don't know what you want to call it. Just a little, no, kind of like a trapezoid. And then this other little leg. It's like the deer's posing for me. It's like, looking real sassy there. We've got this other leg, and again, we can borrow the angle if we want. We can go like that. You can bring that angle out, but notice that the foot is going to be much higher. So see how far back it is compared to that first one. And sometimes I'll just go like that and then go like that, and that's how I'll borrow the angle. I'm looking at the negative space, so the knee is going to be up higher on the back one because it's further back. It's I've got some foreshortening, and it's going to look shorter because it's, you know, further away. Perspective there. And let's see, I'm going to do one of those guys again, figure out where the foot's going to fall. The foot's going to fall about right there. Little hoof. I've made that a little bit too thick up here. I'm just going to erase that. That looks a little awkward, but we'll see after we get the other portions in how awkward it is. So I'm looking at this curve there, negative space. You kind of get that it's almost, you know, two bones there. And this is coming straight down. And then I'm looking at the angle, the tape, like where the front and back leg, how they're kind of lined up. So that back leg is going to be ending right around there. And the hoof is facing me on this back leg. It's turned towards me. And you can actually see the hoof there better than other angles, which is kind of neat. They got this little toe or something up their leg. My dog has short brown hair. She's very agile. She loves to chase. She actually got loose from me yesterday because she spotted a deer and I didn't. And she pulled free when I was walking her in the woods. And that was fun. It was a while before I got her back. She actually came home, luckily, because I wouldn't have been able to catch her. You can see a little bit of the tail. So whenever she spots them, she's just like, I need to be with my people. Like that book, Are You My Mother? Do you remember that book? Like Dr. Seuss? And is it a dog that's going around asking you for my mother? Or it's a bird, I can't remember, but there's like some confused animal. It's like, are you my mother? And the cow goes, I am not your mother. I am a cow. Moo, moo. There's that neck. I might have that neck a little far out, actually. I'm looking at, I think that line is coming out too far. So I'm going to, and plus the neck looks a little thick. So I'm going to bring that in. Fix it when you notice it. If you see it's wrong, just fix it now. You're going to thank yourself later. Erase that double line. We don't need that. You can actually wet any of the lines you don't want, kind of spread them out to the ether, just kind of like let them dissolve. Now the nose, let's see, I'm looking at the back here, dips up, face is right about here, the nose. So I'm just going to put a circle there. How dare you disturb my breakfast, lady, he says. Or she. She's trying to eat here. It's bad enough your dog chases me. Or maybe they were looking for Penny, I don't know. Okay, we've got the E. Let's see, let's get the forehead there. Makes the deer's head look really small the way that he's lined, where the neck is lined up. And let's get the ear. The ears are also like larger than it seems like they should be. And they're kind of diamond shaped. That looks a little long though, even for a deer. Okay, we gotta get this other leg in here. So there's some space between the back legs. And this lake is going to swoop down and almost meet that foot. This angle is not right. That leg's not right. I gotta get that leg fixed. And overall, this one's looking pretty awkward, but I think that once we add, whoops, that's not the right pencil. I try to find unifying lines, so I'm going to go line to the top of the head, down the leg. I'm always trying to find lines that unify. Maybe bring that a little bit. Line right out to the heel. There. Let's see, this looks a little awkward, but all right. Let me get the crumbs out of the way, and then maybe let's wet the entire area and then charge in some watercolor while everything is still pretty wet. I'm just doing a real quick. Oh, Sheila, she did at the Frugal Crafter. When she asked her question, that stood out to me, so I could see that. So please do that if you're asking a question as well. Do you draw upside down to get the proportions and lines correct? Yes, I do often. I will draw upside down. Obviously, I'm not today, but yeah, that really helps, especially with a portrait. And just doing another, just to scroll back to the comments, see if anybody has any dire questions. Somebody said, what set are you using? I'm using the Mungio set of 48 for watercolors, and I'm using the Graphitint set of 24. Everything is linked in the video description, or at least it should be. I don't know, if I messed it up and deleted it, then I'll put it back afterwards. That's not beyond the scope of of stuff here. ZZ Creations says, hi Lindsay, I recently got the Derwent Graphitint pans. Have you worked with them? I'm having trouble figuring out what to do with them. No, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, they are on my want list. I really want to get the set of Graphitint pans because they look like they would granulate really beautifully, and I think that would be pretty. Oh, somebody said, I think somebody was asking about watercolor pencils and light fastness. The Albright Drawers are light fast. And then other than that, I would go pencil by pencil. Actually, I wouldn't even say all the Albright Drawer from Faber-Castell are light fast, but they do have ratings and they do rank pretty high. If you go to, if you have Derwent products, you want to go to the Derwent product page because they rate. They have charts. You want to look up their color charts. They have ratings for all of their products. So I'm not loving that brush. I might have to go back to my tried and trues, my creative marks. On Derwent, they have the color charts, and every individual pencil is rated, so then you can determine what colors to choose if light fastness is your priority. In a sketchbook, I'm not that concerned. I do think that Derwent reformulated the graphitints, and I'm not sure if I have new or old ones because I got mine a long time ago, because there was some light fast issues with one of the reds, I think. But if you were buying them today, you'd get the new version, which has the better light fastness, but you can look all that information up. For most of the legacy brands will have that. Your budget ones, I wouldn't trust light fastness on the budget pencils just because I don't believe they've paid to have that testing done, and they're probably just regurgitating what the like factories tell them. And I don't necessarily, I mean, when you get really vibrant pinks and purples, those are difficult colors to make light fast, so I wouldn't necessarily trust those claims. But if you're getting them from like Derwent or Faber-Castell or Caran d'Ache, I think the Museum Aquarelle from Caran d'Ache are also light fast. You just gotta do your research, look at the charts, and they'll usually rate it individually per pencil, and then select colors that meet your criteria for light fastness. I mean, theoretically, they use the same pigments that are in the paints. And so if the paint's a light fast pigment, you know, not all watercolors light fast. If the pigment's light fast, then it should be regardless in what you're using. All right, so let's see. I'm actually gonna, you know what? I never use gray watercolor, so I think I actually will. And sometimes the funny thing is, sometimes with like the more budget watercolors, the you'll get some really pretty like granulation effects. It's actually probably filler and stuff that you're seeing in there, not true granulation. But you can get some of those pretty effects with some of those cheap watercolor paints. So, you know, if your wall monster has been going gaga over the granulating paints, and you don't really care about light fastness, give, you know, see, dig around in your, you know, island of misfit art supplies and see what you got on hand that maybe you weren't too keen on before, but would give you the effect, the textural effect that you want now. Now, of course, granulating colors from a legacy brand, generally your granulating colors are your mineral pigments, and they're going to be more light fast just naturally. So, you know, you're going to get a better light fast product if you're using a legacy brand. But if you're having fun, you just want to play, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to use a little yellow ochre because I like yellow ochre. So I am kind of pumping my colors up a little bit. This is fun. I love it when I take a photo and then I like immediately end up painting it. I feel so, I don't know, virtuous. It's like buying a supply and then immediately using it. You don't feel too guilty about purchasing the supply. Let's see. Oh, no, you know what? I'm like way back on the comments. And yet I'm afraid to press buttons. Uh, Sheila's wondering how long ago they changed the graphitints. I think it was pretty soon after they released them. Honestly, I don't think too many of the older ones got out, but I could be wrong. I like to use a lot of water when I want to get granulating effects because I find that it really helps like the colors sediment out. So I can look at my swatch to see which I didn't do my swatches very wet, so I can't really see what colors would generally granulate on this. Oh shoot, I gave the deer a goiter. You know what, I probably should have used cotton paper, but I was using, you know, just kind of fooling around. I didn't want to use expensive paper, or like, you know, finer paper, but the paper would have stayed wetter more uniformly if I had a cotton paper. So if you're struggling with that, you know, with stuff drying in like non-conformally, you know, it's drying at different rates. That's probably because it's a cellulose paper. That can be frustrating. I was putting in my darker values with that mix. Naomi C. Art says, having a late lunch break today at work, so I'll watch the replay. Just wanted to pop on and say hello. Oh, hello. I appreciate that. Thank you. And comments are so chatting, comments, interacting on your favorite YouTube channels is so helpful for the creators. So thank you to everybody that is active on live streams on behalf of me and all the other YouTube creators out there, because it really is helpful. YouTube determines whether to promote a video or a channel or a live stream based on how active the people are in it, and I appreciate it. I also appreciate you guys helping each other with questions when I can't pay attention to the screen. That's very nice. I want to give a little bit of a swell to the belly because it does have a little bit of a deeper chest area than tummy, so I want to get that in there. I want to get a little bit of a shadow where the neck kind of, the body turns into the neck. Sheila says, are you on every week on Wednesday? I just happened to see you on. No, this is completely, I used to stream fairly regularly on Fridays with my niece Sarah before the pandemic. I didn't stop because of the pandemic. I stopped because I was just overwhelmed with everything, and the live stream stopped performing very well. And so I decided just to kind of do them when I felt just when I felt like it. And so, which means I do it on my own because I'm not going to like have somebody on call just for whenever I feel like it, But I do miss doing them with her, but I like the flexibility of just being able to, turn on the camera and do it when I feel like I have something, when I feel like, hanging out and doing it. Sometimes I would get stressed out because I'd have too much planned in a week or I would be behind. Um, and then, it's kind of stressful. I wanted it to be fun and more easygoing. Actually really enjoying this. Just this loose sketch. I'm really, really liking this. I wouldn't mind getting back into a regular schedule of it, but then again, it's also just kind of a fun surprise, It's like, ooh. I was a few days last. Well, I guess if I did make a schedule, then I'd probably stick to it because I'm a, what do you call it? Oh shoot. Gretchen Rubin has this book called The Four Tendencies, and upholder. I'm an upholder. If I say I'm going to do something, or if I put it in my schedule, then I do it, even if it's like it's kind of ridiculous and I'm holding myself to doing something. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I'm an upholder, borderline questioner, because I have to question everything first. It's going to be a good idea before I do it. But once I decided I'm going to do it, then I'm relentless. I haven't had a lot of ticks around, so I hope that means the deer population's been relatively tick-free and healthy. A friend of mine got Lyme disease, though, and it's such a hard to diagnose thing. I'm going to thicken up the neck to get rid of the goiter. The poor deer. Oh, poor deer. There we go. That looks a little bit better. I think I'm going to leave this be. Maybe do a little bit of ground. Maybe put water in first, and then do some grusses. I think I'm just going to stick with this. This is number 12, I believe. No, number 10 round, Creative Mark Mimic. I love these brushes. I was going with different brushes today because I thought that it would be better with the pencils, but the pencils dissolve really easily, so I didn't really need them. And I'm just, these are like tried and true. I'm so comfortable with them. I'm just going to put some little grasses in, let them flow. You don't have to spend a lot of time, to improve. Usually the stuff that you do to get better at drawing, to be accurate, is done in the first like tenth of a painting. The rest of it's just kind of window dressing. The rest of it is prettifying it and making it gorgeous, like if you did Inktober, another one of those challenges, and you weren't posting online and you were just like, doing 15 minutes a day, you'd probably grow as quick as if you spent 2 hours a day and most of it was just like making the drawing pretty to post online. So I just wanted to put that out there in case you're overwhelmed because you watch creators doing Inktober and you're like, oh, that's so pretty. I can't, I'd be embarrassed to post, or I don't have that kind of time. If you want to get better, that's the performance. You get good in the messy, ugly sketching. Oh man, Jody, thank you. I forgot. So my channel has this thing, like you could put a thanks button in. It's kind of like the old tip jar that YouTube had, and people have asked, oh, can I send you something or what? So I'm like, well, I'll just enable the thanks, but you can't enable the thanks without enabling the super chat. And I never want people to be like, oh, I need to donate money to Lindsay on a live stream. But Jody just gave me $5 to go towards my Graphitint pans. Oh, that's wicked sweet. Thank you so much. I forgot that was there. Um, that was very nice. All right, if you want to add a little bit of extra detail, you can use credit card scrapers. I know I have like a million kicking around here and tucked in every nook and cranny. And what this is just like a credit card or a gift card, something that's used up. You cut it up into a bunch of different pieces, and then you just use those little angles. And I like this over using the like the handle of a brush. Let me see if I have an acrylic handle brush. I know I do, but do I have it in a handy pot? Right here. So like the backs of these brushes have these beveled edges, and those do more like of a squeegee effect. See how it gives me like lighter lines? But if I want darker lines, if I use a credit card scraper, it like kind of scrapes into the paper more and I get finer lines. And it's just kind of just a different effect. So they work really well together. So this is called an aquarelle. These brushes that have the clear handles, and they're very handy, but this is free and this works really well too. And if you wanted to get more of an effect like the aquarelle handle and you didn't have a brush like that, if you know when you get a credit card or a gift card and it's got like a rounded edge, that rounded edge will give you more of that squeegee effect and give you the lighter line. So just something to keep in mind when you are looking for those really fine details like in grasses and stuff. I'm gonna try, I want to just kind of define the tail a little bit though, and then we're gonna finish this. Maybe just a little bit of that black. This whole set of 48 pans is, I think, like $35. I paid close to 50 when I got mine a few years ago. But yeah, if you like those, if you like the Prima and the Jade Davenport watercolors, and you want more colors, this is a great option. And I think you'll get everything in like the first like 4 sets of Prima colors are in here, and I think all the Jane Davenport colors are in there. So, if you already have those colors, if you already have those palettes, you're just going to be buying doubles. But if you don't, you want kind of them all together, then you can. I like the blooms happening in here. I think it's kind of fun, and I might go in with a white pen later and just do a little bit of detailing just to bring the eyes back. I probably could do that actually with the white watercolors here. I'll give it a try. I'm not sure how opaque. I don't think the Mungios are that opaque. Give it a try. We'll see. But we got to dry it first, otherwise it's just going to bleed. Carmen Nunez says, somebody asked about budget watercolor paper, but if you answered, I missed it. What do you think of the Fabriano 25% cotton one? Oh, I really like that one. The Fabriano Studio 25% cotton, you can get them in 50 sheet pads of 140 pound, and you can get them in 75 sheets of the 90 pound. And I love the hot press one. And the cold press is pretty good too. The hot press is my favorite. I feel like that's the best buy. In case you are wondering. Jennifer R, thank you very much. Sent me a $5 super chat. Boy, I'm gonna have to buy those Graphitint pans now. You guys are totally enabling me and funding me. So my gosh. Oh, you guys, thank you. Yeah, I like the Fabriano Studio. I would teach with the cold press one. It was not going to lift up quite as well as some others. I'm trying to think of another budget paper that would give you a little more lifting if that's what you wanted, because the Fabriano Studio doesn't lift as well. It doesn't have quite as much sizing. Oh gosh, nothing's coming to mind right now, because I haven't been able to find the B paper that was really affordable. $15, you would get 50 sheets of that on Amazon, but I think they sold the company, and I haven't seen that deal around lately, and that was a good budget one. Oh, hey, we got Dawn's sneaking in from work. Yes. Oh, you guys, thank you so much for popping in. I know it's the middle of the day and it's tough to watch these live streams, but the replay will be available. I'm just gonna move that out of the glare. All right, let me see. What else do we have for? Oh my gosh, look at that deer's face. He looks like, whoa, whoa, who's looking at me? Look at the face. Look at that. The ears are popping. I was like, whoa, somebody's here. Somebody's looking at me. Who is this person? Okay, we got to draw that guy. It's actually about the same body, but a different face. Let me just see if I have a, oh, that one's pretty cute. That's also very similar to what I just did there. Oh, you know what? Maybe we should do that one. You know, we gotta do the surprise deer face first, and then we'll do the surprise deer face over here. Then we'll do the one with the deer grazing, because I can't I can't even. That face is too funny. We got to draw that. That's a riot. Okay, Gina. Oh my gosh, thank you, you guys. I think I'm able to buy the. I think I'm able to buy the graphitints now. They're not that expensive. I think they're like $20 for like the set of 12 pans. So my goodness, guys, you guys are pretty awesome. Totally unexpected. Thank you. All right, let's try another color of the graphitints. This is the sepia, and we're just going to do this guy's face, which I'm going to scoot over a little bit because I want you to be able to see my phone without the glare. I'm going to tuck an eraser under there. See how that works. Let's start off with the diamond shape there. Kind of a diamond shape. Maybe, you know what, maybe if we start with a trapezoid first, that might be a little bit easier. Well, I guess it's not really much of a trapezoid, but we're getting this kind of, it's more of a pentagon actually, but not an even one. And then let's do a little channel down like this. It's almost like we're making an origami deer head. You know how we're getting kind of like all of the planes. And we got the nose is actually very much like a pentagon. I love how we're able to just kind of explore so many different drawing methods here today, because you'll find something that will fit, that'll click with you. And if you've never had drawing classes, you might not even know to try these different things. And we got to get the let's see. Do I have that? I feel like I have the nose. Do I have the nose a little big? Okay, so now we're going to get the surprise mouth. I love the ears. He said, "What? Lindsay's buying more watercolors? That's crazy." That looks a little weird, but I think it's just because where the head is kind of morphing in with the neck. That does look a little strange. Let me try to unify everything in one shape. Maybe that will help it. Let's see, we've got eyes. Get this kind of plane on the head on the side there that's all kind of in shadow. Let me shade that in and see if that helps unify the shape. I think it does. So the eye is right here on the edge. And then kind of shades in there. And this eye is over here. We don't see the full eye on this side because it's turned away. I know this looks like a mess, but you know what? It's not the pretty stuff that teaches you. Your drawings are generally, the drawings you learn from are often more messy. All right, and then there's kind of more of a shadow on this side. I feel like the nose is not coming down far enough. That's why the mouth looked off. Okay, and the body actually comes off right at the edge of the bottom of the nose. Let's get the ears in. Sometimes I find, and look at the negative space. Look at the negative space on the head, or between the ears. Sometimes skipping around and working on a different part is helpful. Oops, I forgot to put my phone in airplane mode. And I have a program on that tells when the kids are, you know, um, on the road. And this ear is, the way we're seeing this ear is going to be fatter. Let's get the shape in there. It's kind of like a rounded diamond. So many repeated shapes. You'll notice that with animals, repeated shape like diamond, 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 the foot diamond. You know, you're going to see repeated shapes. And the more you get those in there, the more you have this kind of flow and harmony to your work. Surprise, dear. What are you doing up? You got a lot of nerve, lady. You're not supposed to be up yet. Okay. Oh my gosh, Denise, thank you. I haven't looked up at the chat in a while. Joe asks, hi Lindsay, this is cellulose paper. Yes. How do you like how it handles water layering? I don't really, let's see, have I done I've done some layering on it. It's fine. It's good for mixed media. I think it's a little expensive because you can get the collection from Hahnemühle block for less than this, and that's a much better paper. But I had this, and I wanted to finish it up, so so I like it. I like it fine for a sketchbook. I think it should be more around $25 than $45. So that's my hot take on this paper. It is cellulose. Um, but I think their cotton papers run cheaper than this paper is right now, and I love their cotton papers. I definitely would recommend, if you're going to spend that kind of money, go for their Cezanne or their the collection. I mean, you get fewer pages. You get fewer pages in a pad, but it's much better. Now let's see that the face is going back like that, and then we got shadow underneath. I also kind of want to see, like, if I mainly use the Graphitint for color, what I'm going to get. Like, am I going to get, you know, like I don't feel like I've used these Graphitints in this project to their best advantage. I also feel like I might have the face a little stretched out, but it is kind of stretched out. And the nose, maybe the nose isn't wide enough. Just something feels a little bit off. I think that might be it as well. Move it over, widen it out. Make that brow a little more prominent. I think I might even have the head a little too high. I haven't got a black in this. I don't know if this one has a black. I don't know if my swatches faded because they've been in the tin, so air wouldn't have gotten to them. I'm not sure if so that makes me think that maybe I have the older version, but also I don't think I swatched them that darkly. There is a black though. I want to try that. Is this the black? Dark indigo. This one probably is. They're very slow wearing though. Midnight black. Let's give that a try. I'm just going to stroll back, see if I missed any quick questions. Oh, Joey with the good advice. Joe Maskey is one of my moderators. Oh, and so is Maricha is here too, the Junking Data Girl. The very, very knowledgeable folks. Thank you so much for popping in and helping people and answering questions and offering wonderful advice, encouraging advice. That's what we should be doing, offering encouraging advice, because it can be so frustrating if you're comparing your journey, the beginning of your journey, to the middle of somebody else's. And the only person you should be comparing yourself against is who you were yesterday. And you will have times where you don't grow. And it's so frustrating. You hit a plateau, or you even seem to backtrack. And that happens. And it's just, oh, so infuriating and so frustrating. But you got to be kind to yourself and know that it happens to everybody. And you're only seeing the successful pieces online. That's what you're seeing. People post, the pretty stuff. You're not seeing the wastebasket with the crappy stuff. You're not seeing the pages that have been, scalpeled out of a scrapbook. I mean, out of their sketchbook, so that they don't accidentally show them. The midnight black, it's not showing up really dark without water, so I'm wondering when I add the water to it how it's going to react. I'll flatten the bottom of the nose there. It's really quite blocky. The nose is quite blocky from this angle, so I don't want to like round it too much. Get the eye. If you're ever visiting in Maine, please be careful if you're driving at night. There are deer everywhere, especially, and moose too. So if you're ever visiting Maine and you're renting a car and you're not used to driving here, be careful. It's also very dark, so we don't have street lights everywhere. I gotta erase some of that. That's coming up too far. Oh, maybe I'll try this eraser. It's one of those pencil erasers. Actually, this is really good for getting like glue and ink off of your, if you make cards. I know some of you guys are card makers too. I don't know if it's going to be good for this. It's not that great for this, but it's good for cards. Not good for watercolor paper. My electric eraser though. Basically, I just want to push that eye back because I had it too far over. Brow bone. I hadn't driven much lately. Well, I haven't driven much since the girls have gotten their licenses, but and I hadn't driven the Jeep at night apparently because I was driving the other night, and I had to think I didn't know where the high beams were, and it was dark. I was driving on one of these back roads. And a shade under the jaw. I just love the shocked expression. Oh, I just caught in the middle of a question. Joey says, I'm pretty sure you have an older set because I've got some open stock ones within my first year subscribing to you. So that would have been 2014 or 2015. Oh, okay. Yeah, I probably do have the older ones. So, Joe, how are yours? Do they seem like they're more pigmented? Like as you're watching these get laid down, do yours seem like they're more pigmented? I'm really curious about that. Let's see. I don't think I tried this gray. It's funny. The grays seem to have a lot of like color to them. Mountain gray. It almost looks like they've got like additional colors. I might just grab my Posca pen and add some highlights to some of these. Oh, that's right. We're going to use the Mungio white on that. Let me just add a drop of water on that pan of white, and then we can let that. We got some blue on there from something. We can let it kind of soak in there and get good and activated by the time we're ready to use it. Let's see. A little bit of this on the nose, maybe. I feel like I want a little bit of a brown. Let's try this one. I want to use a lot of these colors because I haven't used them very much. Chestnut. Let's try that. Oh, that's really red. That's got nice red undertones. A little bit in the ears. Maybe in the mouth, I'd like to get some. Look at this color. Maybe the caps of this is juniper. I'm wondering if maybe the caps of my pencils have faded, although they've been in. I did have them out for a while on display, but they've been in their tins for the most part. Let's try that. I also better put it somewhere in the fur too, so it's not weird looking. One thing that will look kind of strange is that the ears, like this one's flipped around. They move their ears independently from each other, so it can look kind of strange in like a photograph because like one ear will be facing forward and the other ear will be turned around the back way. So it can be kind of weird. I'm just going to erase that extra pigment I have up there. All right, let's add some water to this and see how she looks. Oh, Jennifer, thank you. She asks, what is a good site to get pictures from? Loving the surprise deer. I like to use, the one I use the most is probably Unsplash because I can make, I can make collections. So like if I'm not feeling like painting, but I want to maybe prep some, like maybe I'm thinking about doing some Christmas tutorials and I need like photos of Christmas trees or ornaments or things like that. You can make collections and you can organize them by however you want to, and you can make those collections public or private. It's just really handy, and the downloads are high resolution. It's free, and that's great. So that's called unsplash.com. You can sign up for a free account, and I highly recommend doing that because then you can save your collections. I also sometimes use Pixabay and Pexels. And I would say I probably use those sites the most often. I used to have a graphic stock. Well, now they've changed their name to like Storyblocks, but that was definitely more for like stock photo, for like just using the photos for like websites. It wasn't so much like the photos weren't as artistic as I find that I get on Unsplash. Um, Wikipedia sometimes, because Wikipedia has a Wikipedia Commons, which isn't so much artistic photos, but the you can get like information basically. Like when I was doing a fishing float tutorial, I found that I couldn't find a decent photo of fishing floats, or I couldn't find them like set up the way that I would have wanted to. So I had to use a bunch of reference photos and then kind of like pick from a from a dozen or so. But the nice thing about Wikipedia is that you'll have the information on the subject that you're trying to study and paint from. So even though you might not have the best photo in the world, you can learn about that subject, and then oftentimes you can just the information that you're getting can help you with your painting because you know more about the thing. Like, if you looked up a deer on Wikipedia, like an American deer, white-tailed deer, you could learn about their tail, learn about their ears, learn about all these different little facts that could help you with the information when you're painting. I'm not sure if I like using these this thickly because I feel, I don't know, like they're lacking a lot of texture. I think they're better to sketch with and add watercolor to, but I'm going to wake my phone back up and start looking at that more. I might go in on the wet paper actually with the pencils and see what I can do. I'm just gonna scroll back. Joey says his pencils are about the same. Okay, I think I'm good. Whoops, oh gosh, I touched the keypad too much, and if I accidentally block somebody, I apologize. I'm not intending to, but I hit a button, so I'm doing my best. That juniper was just a very slate gray color. All right, I'm gonna go in with the pencils. I'm not, I just kind of lost a ton of definition here. I'm not crazy about that. So, oh, I wonder if I could get white hairs in the ear with the white pencil. If I use it wet on wet, I don't know. I'm usually not too keen on white watercolor pencils. I don't know. It's dropping a little bit of pigment, but not a lot. Well, this actually is doing all right over here. So this is the white Graphitint. So I wonder what the difference between this and a regular pencil would be though, because graphite's not white. Like if you mixed white with graphite, you would have like gray. So that might just be just a white watercolor pencil they put in there to round out the set. Oh, this is working though. This is going to give me a little bit of sculpting ability, which is what I need because I feel like I've lost all the planes of the face, so I can put my highlights in. This is working a little bit. Why did I get the ear so skinny here? I think it's because I had the head up so far to begin with, and when I dropped the top of the head, I didn't account for the ears. The ears need to come on a little bit more. Now with the negative space around, I can see that's like a right angle, and it's just above the high. So yeah, I had that way too high. Way too high. So, you know what? Honestly, the ear should be down here. Yep, that was an error. I'm going to fix it because I see it now. And we're going to see if we can integrate this. It might be caricature by the time we're done, but I know it's wrong. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to try to fix it. And let's see, I used a little bit of, is it port? And I'm going to have something, it is pretty white down there, but I'm going to need something to integrate. I do kind of like using the Graphitint over the wet paper, but I'm not getting that granulation like I see in the Graphitint pans. I've also wondered about this paint, and maybe some of you guys haven't. If you do, if you could let me know in the chat what you think of it. It's one of the Kiritaki sets, or it's not Kiritaki, but it looks like the Kiritaki Gansai Tambe, but it's like called Boku Undo or something like that. And it's like sumi ink, like black sumi ink mixed with watercolor or dye or something, some sort of colorant. I don't know if it's sumi-e or if it's Gansai. I think it's Gansai. But it's like, I don't know if it granulates or not. I saw an ad for the St. Louis Art Supply, which I've never ordered from before. But I asked if the colors granulate, and they said it did. But I haven't seen it in action, and it's pretty affordable. And again, it'd be another one of those wonderful, like if you're looking for granulating paint at an affordable price, because like the Schmincke granulating and the Daniel Smith are all very pricey. And it's kind of a special effect thing because I don't think you would really use it except for like just getting texture on something and doing more of a like a background or something. So, you know, oh, those ears are something. They're surprised, all right. They're so surprising. What did you do to my ears, lady? Somebody is home. That's probably Maisie. We got faster internet, so it shouldn't be an issue with the stream anyway. If anybody else gets online. Now my paper's drying. Oh, I just want to see if anybody's asking. Oh, Kimberly Crick has a good video on the Boku Undo. Thank you. I appreciate that because I love her video. She's very thorough. I'm going to go check that out after the stream. I'm just scrolling back, seeing if anybody has any quick questions. Oh, Diane enrolled in 2 classes today. Thank you so much, Diane. I'll look forward to seeing you in class. Learning is so good. And I think in these times when you turn on the news and you just like, it's so depressing. It's so nice to have something to take your mind off it and, you know, give yourself some personal growth and enrichment. Let's see. W. Van Gaal asks, is this because of the new Graphitint set pencils and some other pans coming out, or just a coincidence? Oh, it's a coincidence. I didn't know there were new things coming out. Oh my gosh, got to add to the want list, I guess. Okay. I know I've just scanned briefly and I probably missed some stuff, but I'm going to add some watercolor to this because I am not really that keen on where I am right now. I think it's when I actually look up at the screen and I see it backwards, it gives me a fresh perspective, and I think it's okay. But actually, I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to go back to our other deer and see what we can do. I got to go back to the other photo too. So is it this one? Yes, I think so. I'm going to see if I can do some highlighting in the face to like bring out just a little bit of character. I just felt like I just kind of got a big blob, you know? A little bit. it. I think this is going to dry transparent, so I think I can actually be kind of bold. So even if you're not a good photographer, you can still take reference photos that are just fine, that will give you the information you need. Because remember, you saw it firsthand. You don't need to have, you know, National Geographic quality photos. If you can, you know, you'll learn to trust your memory, but you'll have these things like the basic shape of something, you know, and it will help you, so you don't have to rely so much on other people's reference photos, which is nothing wrong with using Unsplash and using like reference photos or even clipping for magazines for your own use. But it will definitely help. Oh, let me get some of this Naples yellow. Let's try that. Also, sketchbooks, I'm like, I will use whatever. I'll use whatever color I want to and just have fun. Now, when I do add a new color, though, something I do is I add it in other places so I have harmony. So it's not like, why is that color there? That's so weird and discordant. I make sure to put it in a few places. I might use a little like light red or English red or Indian red, one of the PR 101 reds, because I want it to be earthy, but I kind of want a little bit of life in the ears. But I don't want to go in with some like fake looking magenta. I'll add just a little bit in the fur too. I don't want it to look wounded. Okay, so now let's go back to this guy. And oops, we turned around. Probably have learned how to lock my screen before I started this endeavor. Oops. Oh, and if you like accidentally get into another color and you contaminate your mix, just start again. Just get a fresh color. Because if you add the wrong color knowingly, you're probably going to fight it. Now, one thing I'm noticing though about the graphitints is that it seems to seal the paper a little bit, because I am getting a little bit of a like I can see my paint just kind of sitting on top of the graphitint layer, which is kind of funny, but I think it's because, you know, graphite has that sheen to it. And I think it's actually, this might be a nice medium if you have a sketchbook of unknown origin, like it's not, maybe not a watercolor sketchbook, but you're able to like squeak a little watercolor in there without too much trouble. It might be a really nice option for that. These really are nice paint for movement. I don't think I'm really showing them to their best advantage. I think you probably, for the purpose of this, whatever, since I'm not really working wet to wet too much and getting a lot of areas for the paint to whoosh around, I don't think I'm showing you the best advantage of this. And for that reason, I would just say use whatever paint you have. You're going to get a very similar result for this particular tutorial. I'll go back to the white. Oh, I'm surprised. That's actually drying pretty opaquely. I guess I'll be a little bit carefuler where I put it on this guy. I thought it was going to like really get light, but that's showing up pretty well. I'm actually going to put another stripe on my swatch because I didn't think it looked very opaque over that line, but maybe I just didn't have it thick enough. That's the colors you get, excuse me, in the Mungyo 48 set. I think I probably rearranged them, which I recommend. You should put your paints in whatever makes sense for you, but I like to go in the spectrum order, except for my earth tones. I keep my earth tones together, but you can do whatever you like, but don't feel like you have to keep it the way the manufacturer puts it. But I would say if you're going to move your stuff around, make sure your swatch reflects where your stuff is, because if you don't use a set very often, like I would not know the difference between these browns and reds, like these light reds and these browns and black without having that swatch to see it. But make your paints work for you. They don't, you know, they don't need to stay, and pencils too, they don't need to stay in the order that your manufacturer puts them in. I think it's funny how these dried more bright. Usually the whites dry more, a little wimpier. I'll take questions at the end of the stream, so that way people that are watching the replay can, if they don't want to hear the chit chat, they won't have to sit through it. So if you do put a question in, I might ask you to repeat it, or if you want, just make sure you, like, if you at me and put the question thing, I should spot it. I'll do my best. All right, the fur on the bottom of the jaw is white, so I'm trying to get that. Might have to go in with a paint pen. Oh, I found I have a tip though for if you use the Posca pens, you can refill them if you like. I take a rubber band and put it around the colored part of the nib area, and then just screw it backwards, and then you can drip in like liquid acrylic ink to refill it. And so I've done that with all of my Posca pens. But then I was finding, oh, I couldn't get them to go. My white kept clogging. But then I realized it's because the little ball bearings, I couldn't get them to move in there. So before I go to use my Posca pen, if I haven't used it for a while, I drop it on the floor. And for whatever reason, that dislodges the little ball bearing. So even if you haven't refilled it, it's just your Posca pen, you haven't used it in a while, drop it on the floor and it will dislodge the ball bearing in there, and it will it'll make it so it can mix up your paint pen ink so you can use it. So I was so tickled when I came up with I found that out when I came up with that, because I dropped the pens. All the pens came spilling out of my thing one day, and then they were working great. I'm like, oh, I got to remember this. I'm sure there are other people that want that bit of knowledge. A surprise deer face is kind of letting me down, but I think, oh, maybe just if I there, that's sometimes just having a well placed mark is all you need. Use some of that light red just to give it the mouth a little bit of color. A little black in the eyes. I think I'm going to call that done, and we can do our deer grazing. I wish I had a deer laying down. I did take a photo of a deer laying down in my backyard, but I was so far away. I don't know if I still have it on my phone or not. I tend to clear stuff out pretty frequently. It's so handy to have those references there, because if you're stuck somewhere, you don't have anything to do, you can always just grab your phone and get your references out and start sketching. Actually, you know what would be kind of pretty? Maybe some indigo. You guys don't have anywhere to be, right? I mean, you can just hang out all day and draw, right? I probably should have watched the clock a little bit better. Well, there's a replay, guys, so if anybody has to leave, I completely understand. I know this is going for a long time. I made myself do this before lunch because sometimes you get lazy after I have a lunch, and then I just want to be a lazy bum. So I'm like, no, I'm doing this before lunch, and that will keep me on some sort of schedule because I'll be hungry. But the thing is, when you paint, you kind of forget to eat and stuff. So that might need to dry a bit before I can do. Get some eyelashes. That's how you know it's a girl. Got eyelashes. All right, I just need to stop playing with that, I think. But I think it's all right. I think it's fine. All right, so then last but not least, I think we'll do a deer laying down because we don't have very much space left in our sketchbook. Let's scoot some stuff over. We'll be able to evaluate this surprised deer after it dries. So let's scoot on over here. Actually, I guess I could keep all this in screen. Man, this is like so weird to be backwards. Okay, so we had a laying down one. No, it wasn't laying down one. It was a oh, that one's kind of nice too. Oh, I like that one. That one's a little blurry. Oh, there's something over there they liked. I guess they're both a little blurry. I want to see how the tail is on the other one. That's kind of neat because the ears are back on this one, and the tail, you can kind of see the tail fairly well defined, even though it's blurry. That might actually be helpful because then we won't get mucked up with the detail. So let's give this one a go over here. We can't make it too big, but yeah, let's try it. Let's see. What's a pencil I haven't used yet? We'll try this. This one's called Cocoa. That's probably gonna be a little dark, but that's all right. So I'm gonna start again. I'm gonna start with an oval shape. I'm gonna try to get like get from this bend of the leg, the kind of the rump, this part here, and in the front of the leg. So I've kind of got like a get a rounded area, then it's going to be a little sharp, and we're going to pull it back, and then we're going to come across, and then it's going to be kind of sharp, and it's going to come up. Now hopefully I don't run out of space. Generally this will keep me from running out of space, although I might have got that a little close to the edge, but I like this shape. And then this is going to curve in and come out to the leg. Now, when you're looking at your picture and you're trying to figure out where to start, you don't have to start the same method as I am. Look and see what stands out to you. Maybe it's that shape, maybe it's another shape. Now I'm looking at the negative space. I've got this leg here. It's coming out further and it's going down at a 90-degree angle. And then it's going to jut back in. And then we've got the other butt cheek there. And then we've got the tail. And the tail is actually making that line right there. I know it looks weird because you usually don't see a deer like this. You usually see the deer hopping along with its white tail, the flag up. But that's not how it is in this photo. And then coming up from here, which is the shoulder, we've got a straight line coming down, and its ears are flat against its head. Actually, I'm going to borrow an angle because I think my angle is not sharp enough. Maybe it is. Oh, I guess it is. It looks like it should be. But look how long that neck is. See what I'm talking about? Look how weird that looks. Look, the neck is as long as that leg. I know, isn't that weird? It's like you have to see it to believe it, right? You got to see it to believe it. So that's coming down, and then at the eyeball, the face, the head tips down to the ground. And then it tapers out, and then it kind of tapers back. And that, I mean, it's weird looking. Okay, and then we come down to, remember, this shape here is the front leg. It's not this area here. It's almost like you get a triangle kind of off of that. And that's going into the neck. But that leg is coming off of the front of that line. And I'm going to make sure I might have to extend it out a little bit because I'm going to look at the negative space in here to make sure I have that space right. The legs are meeting. So I was a little bit off on that circle. It should have been a little bit bigger, so I might even need to push that out a little bit more. Once I get this leg positioned, I think I'll have a good idea. It's like you're steering a ship. You're going to readjust as you go. Somebody doesn't like, you know, steer a ship from England to New York in one straight go and keep the you know, they're not setting their thing to east, southeast, or whatever and going straight. They are, or west. They're going to go a few degrees this way, then they're going to end up a few degrees that way. They're constantly steering and turning and guiding the ship. And that's what you're doing as you're drawing. You're rarely putting those lines down perfectly on the first go. You're steering, you're guiding, you're moving, you're adjusting. So I'm looking at the negative space in there. So this is going to be out a little bit more. And get their knee there. Let's see, this one's a little bit higher. But our head is going to end up a little bit lower than this. Try to get your landscape, your bearing points, figure out what things are supposed to match up, what things are supposed to. Even if it looks weird. The neck looks super long, but I think we can move that shoulder over a little bit because remember we had to adjust a little bit. And do I have that angle wide enough? I think. Looks like maybe that's supposed to go a little bit more like that. And I feel like this should be a little bit chunkier. And maybe bring that back a little bit more and down. And try not to worry about running off the page. If you run off the page, let it run off the page. Better to be accurate than to cram it in there. And this leg appears to be about right there. Okay, so my eyeball's here, roughly. Got the ears back here. So let's get those ears in and get that crease in there, the armpit kind of area. All right, I think we'll just go into some watercolors and finish this up. All right. Yeah, maybe put a few grasses. Now let's try this green. This one's gonna be real light, I think, because I think I used a darker one there. I bet that deer's having some like vegetable scraps, because like when I peel vegetables at night, I take the oh, I'm getting a text message. Goodness. Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, like I'll put like carrots, carrot peelings, things like that, throw them in the woods and the deer will eat them. You know, because I know they will. It's all fresh. That's probably what they're having. Now, oops, let's see. Jennifer R. with a super chat, thank you, says, how do you paint an animal that's mostly white? My dog is mostly white and I feel it comes out wrong. My advice would be to go for, put a background in so that you have some contrast. But what you want to do is look for all the other tones that you're seeing besides white, because there's always other tones. There's shades of gray, there's blues, there might be yellows, there might be browns. Just if you take a photo, increase the saturation, like crank her right up and look and see what sort of undertones you see, and then do washes of those colors, and also almost exaggerate the shadows. And it can be very difficult because oftentimes you're like a photograph will just bleach everything out. So you might have to actually, and it can be so hard to photograph an animal, but try to get a photograph when they are like when they're sleeping in their natural light. So if you've got like a couch near a window that the dog likes to sleep on, wait until they're sleeping and try to get that in natural light. Morning light is good. Late afternoon, if you can get the more dramatic light and you can take the photo without your flash on, you're going to get a much better reference that you can see those shadows with. Oftentimes I'll see yellow undertones on white fur on animals, but sometimes you can get grays and even blues and purples. So it just it kind of depends on the tone of the dog, but I would say exaggerate the colors that you see. Just like if you were doing a white flower, you kind of exaggerate those shadows to really make it stand out. And then you can start doing detail. Like I would probably even do, like if you do the underpainting with like watercolor and get those subtle tones in, then you'll be able to use like a white pencil and pull out some of the bright highlights, and then you can use like grays and yellows and browns and get those shadows and still have it look like a white dog when you're done. It's just going to have more, it's just going to have more detail. Oh, why is that like that? There we go. All right, let's give this some shadow. Then do some black and brown. The front of the face is quite a bit of dark. These were taken about 7 a.m. this morning. So, but it was overcast. It was like, it's been raining. It was raining off and on, so it's just kind of dark. But sometimes it's easier to get photos on overcast days for whatever reason. This has been fun, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's see. Oh, the tail. Let's see. The white-tailed deer, the white is on the bottom of the tail, and you only see it when they flick their tails up. Usually when they're running and their tails are stuck up. They're long. They're actually, that's another weird thing. White-tailed deer, the tails are longer than you think. When you see them like flapping the tail around, like if they're irritated, which usually they are, if they come in contact with my dog, they'll stomp their feet and they'll flick their tail around, or they'll flick the tail to like if there's like flies or mosquitoes or something. And the tail's pretty long. It's surprising because you don't notice it when they're like bouncing around with their tails up. So you can see that tail's kind of like wrapped around, and it looks funny because you don't think it's going to be that long. That's why you want to paint what you see, not what you think. Don't believe what you think, guys, when it comes to art, or most things, to be honest. All right, I think I'm going to go back in with the pencils in a second, get a little bit more, add some like detail to it. Oh, if you want your paint to be less flowy, if you use like, if you do want to mix white, like you want a pastel or something, adding white will make your paint more viscous and less flowy. So if that's something that you want, you can do that. And that might actually give you a little bit of texture, kind of like granulation. It will just be, but it will be like kind of slow moving. Ooh, didn't mean to do that, but ooh, let's add some indigo to that. I think that'd be pretty. I love the indigo, and I'm pretty sure it's in Oh, what Prima set? It might even be in Decadent Pies. That's my favorite Prima set because I love it for landscapes and for also, I used to go to life drawing classes and I can make some beautiful skin tones from that set. I think the indigo was in that one. It's in one of them anyway. I stopped getting them once I found the Mungio set. One thing about these though, if you live in a humid area, don't store them on their side because they will kind of travel out of the pans. Like they can splurp out and make a mess. And that's with any of those paints that I mentioned. They just, I think they, maybe because they move so well in water, maybe they're like, maybe they attract moisture, but they will kind of like travel in their pans a little bit. And just a reminder, I will take questions at the end. I'm sorry to ignore. I just, I let myself get distracted too frequently, then we'll be here all day. I mean, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Just that indigo and that, that like sap green. They just flow so nicely. That's what I like about these. And they're cheap. That's also what I like about them. All right, so back to the pencils. Let's see. I don't remember what color I sketched with, but I'm just gonna go in with this chestnut because it's pretty. It's kind of like a reddish brown. Just do some little strokes for like fur. I'm just kind of shading them up, like using any real crazy techniques. It's kind of too bad the spots are gone on the deer. Those are so cute. It's so cute when they're all like, you know, awkward and clumsy. Let's get that leg redefined. Maybe not with that reddish, that chestnut's really red. I'm gonna dip this in the, when you dip your pencil in water, make sure you only get the lead. Try not to get the wood because the wood can swell and it could split. I don't think I've had that happen, but I just want to warn you because I know that good pencils aren't cheap, so I don't want you to dunk it too deep and then have any problems. I always hate it when I wreck a supply. I certainly don't want to be responsible for anybody else doing it. These don't seem to do as well with that technique as other, like the different watercolor or ink tints. They seem to be well pigmented, but they're quite a hard pencil. That's probably why they wear down so slowly. Find my black. There we go. I think that is. Yep. And don't sharpen them right after you've done that technique because it will leak in the lead and you might break the lead. And I think that's all I'll do for that face details. Just a little bit of that, just a little dab for the eye and the nose. It's funny how when you take a break and you're not looking at like a sketch and then you go back and you're like, oh, that looks all right. But like if you kept looking at it and kept working on it, you would just overwork it to death because you'd be like, it's not right. It's not right. What have I done? Like I'm looking back at Surprise Deer over, I can scooch it over so you can see. I'm looking back at Surprise Deer and Surprise Deer doesn't look that bad to me anymore. I don't know how much I'll be able to reactivate these black marks I'm putting in after dipping. So try to be pretty accurate with them in case you can't smooth them out later. I kind of consider when I'm doing this technique is like these marks are here to stay. A little bit on the feet, I think. Maybe just a little dark brown. You know what I should do? I should take a, I should probably swatch these on a piece of tape and liquefy them and tape them to the barrel because the leads can be deceiving on these. I find with regular colored pencil, I can go by what the lead says, but on water-based pencils, I have to have a swatch. And I think that might be actually more handy than having the swatch on the lid. I'm probably going to re-swatch my lid, just kind of give another layer. Not do anything fancy, but just do that so I can see what I've got going on a little bit better. This leg should be white, except for the bottom part. And I did not accurately do that. I have no idea who's here upstairs. It's somebody with a key. So that narrows it down. Either that or a very friendly burglar, because it sounds like they're playing with the dog. See, I would say it's not going to really reconstitute very well. Plus, when you use pencil on wet paper, even if it's not even if it's not wet, oh, that should be a little bit more rounded there. It's still going to like damage the paper a little bit. It's like when you use a credit card scraper or the Acryl handle, you're damaging the paper, and it's a desirable effect what you're doing. So it's not a big deal, but that's something to keep in mind, that when you do something like that to wet paper, you use a pencil directly on it or you scrape on it, you're never going to get that back. You're never going to lift that back to the plain paper. Anytime you put something over that too, you're going to have that texture underneath. It's going to absorb your paint differently, and it's going to give you just a different effect. I'll get a little bit of white under the chin. Oh, I'm loving I wish I sharpened it beforehand. I'm loving the white, dipping the white. That's working really well. Or using the white on the wet paper. That's working quite well. I'm surprised, actually. The pantaloons, the underpinning here needs to be a little bit lighter. I might need to go into my paint. And the tum-tum. The tum-tum, though, I left white, so that worked out all right. The bottom of the legs. I'm just going to go in with the white watercolor because that was just so satisfying last time. If you live in Australia, I will recommend the Royamac Revolution synthetic sable brushes. They're called Royamac Revolution Taklon, and the reason I recommend them is because they're native. They're the store, the Micador. I think it's called the Micador stores where you buy it. I think it's Koh-i-Noor's like distribution out of Australia, and the prices are reasonable. And you guys in Australia pay so much money for just the basics in America that have to be shipped to you from the UK or from America. That I like to mention that anytime I use them, because they're a wonderful brush, and there's no point to spend I love the Mimic brushes from Creative Mark, but there's no point to spend triple the price when you can get these. They're, these are great. And it's so expensive to get art supplies in other countries. So if I know of something that's a special steal from a native country, I try to mention that because, yes, I recommend a brand, but oftentimes your best bet is to look, if you're not in America, look at what your local options are, because even if they're not exactly 100% as good, they might be like 90% as good, but be like 80% cheaper than having to import something. So best supplies, the ones you can afford, the ones you have. Adding some gray just because they do have such a gray tone this time of year. All right, I think I'm going to call this guy done. All right, if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I think I'm going to leave those the way they are. I don't think I'm going to add any pen to them. I'm pretty happy with the way they are. I love this little sketch sesh. A little sketch sesh. Ah, adorable. And I'm going to scroll backwards and see if there's any questions that I've missed. I'm going to move this right out of the way because it's going to make me push buttons. Try to keep my face off the camera because I look like a sketchy hobo as normal. Okay, Amy says, do we ask questions here? Yes, Amy, go ahead. Type the word question in all caps, or you can if you hit the @ button the ampersand, then start typing then like the Frugal Crafter Lindsay Weirich should pop up. Click on that, and then that will give me a nice bright orange bar that I can see that you're trying to ask me a question. So it'll pop right up. And also if you type the word question in all caps, I can usually catch that. But type the question itself in regular upper and lowercase, because YouTube will see an all caps response as like spam. So it might like hide it and I won't be able to see it. And I'm looking. And so the tutorial portion is done here. So if you're watching the replay, I'm just going to be answering questions and responding to comments and stuff. So I just want to let you know that in case you're watching thinking you're going to miss something. And I'm sorry, my arm is covering now, but I can't scroll otherwise. Oh, Gina says, I usually watch her in the evening. She cheers me up. Not that I'm unhappy. I love that hummingbird card. It was so awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, you guys want to see something? Speaking of that hummingbird card that I did, and that's a tutorial using watercolor markers. I stamped out two. And so I went to a craft night with my friends the other night, and I brought the other one that I stamped because I knew that I wasn't going to have the brain power to do much. I didn't want to lug a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I'll bring that and I'll color it with my Speer Farber pencils because I'm getting ready to review those. And so I colored another one with the Speer Farben pencils, and I just used water to blend them. And they're not a watercolor pencil, but they move just enough with watercolor that you can use it just like odorless mineral spirit. So if you have those pencils, after you do the water, you can layer up more pencil and you can get an extra couple layers on it, even on smooth cardstock like this. So I just wanted to share that with you since somebody mentioned the hummingbird card. I'll probably make another one of those. Probably not on camera because that would be redundant, but all right, still scrolling back. Oh no, somebody thought the deer in the picture was bleeding. Do I have a bloody looking deer? Probably I used too much of that Indian red on there, but I wanted to move it around a couple places so that it would be a little more harmonious. No wounded deer, no worries. Probably got into that beet juice that I had put out there, the beet juice pulp. I'm just gonna scroll back. Okay, I think this is just all you guys talking with each other. Oh, wow. Older and Dirt has a great tip. She said she was looking for a white pencil and she used a Wet n Wild eye pencil. Like that's you might not know what this is if you're not somebody who wears makeup. It's like a pencil you use for like your eyeliner or like the waterline in your eye. So a white eye pencil worked good for using for white highlights for color pencil. That's a great tip. And it's white, so it's not like it's going to fade to something else, I wouldn't think. All right. Okay, I've scrolled back quite a ways. I didn't see any of the questions, so I am going to go forward. If I did miss your question, if it was earlier on stream, please repost it. And if you've just posted it, then I'm going to check it out right now because I'm going back to the live area. Michelle's asking if I like or maybe she's not asking me, but she's asking if I like the Farben watercolors. I haven't used those, but I think somebody told me they're the same as the superior ones, like the Art Whale pans and the Artsy pans, which I do like, as long as the price is good. Sometimes I think they're priced a little high for what they are. Tracy Viz asks, what kind of ink do you stamp with when using colored pencils to color a stamped image? Generally, I'll use Memento because if I'm using regular colored pencils, I may want to use a solvent like alcohol or Gamsol, and the Memento will not bleed with the solvent. But even with water, that they didn't bleed. I think I used, but you know what? I think I probably used Archival for that one because I had done another one with watercolor. So I bet I used Archival. So yeah, if I'm going to add water to it, I'd use Archival. If I'm going to add solvent to it, then I'd use Memento. Amy asks, I have some black velvet watercolor brushes and I need more brushes, but my budget is hurting. Are there some brushes you suggest? Something like that. Yeah, actually, I don't use the black velvet because they do have actual animal fur in them, but I love the Mimic from Creative Mark, and this is what they look like. You can buy them open stock from Jerry's Artorama or in sets. Now they sell them, Jerry's Artorama sells them at jerry'sartorama.com and also on amazon.com. They're going to come from Jerry's either way. That's who supplies them. They're the only people that I know that sell them. I think it might be one of their house brands, but they have a couple of value packs. They have a Try Me pack on on Jerry's for a couple bucks where you get a couple small brushes, but I really don't use the small brushes very much. They have a set that's like $14 that has like 5 brushes in it, and I think it's got like like a half inch, maybe 3/4 inch flat, or like one stroke. It's got longer bristles. It's got a couple small ones. It's got like a number, I think like a number 5 and a number 10 round. I think it's like 5 brushes total. And that's a great bang for your buck for like 14 bucks. Or if you have a little more to spend for around 30, and sometimes it goes on sale, they have the set that's got like this big one, and then it's got like the one that I'm always brushing my crumbs, my eraser crumbs with, really this one right here. And then it's got a bunch of other smaller ones, like a number 2 and number 4, a liner, like maybe an 8 and a 12. And if you have the cash for that one, that's great, because I find these 2 brushes are super handy. But if you don't need these really big ones, the $14 set will do you really well. And I like them better than the Princeton Neptunes, and they're cheaper. I haven't tried the Black Velvet, but another real budget friendly one. Do I have them here? Oh, right here. This is the all media one, not the watercolor one, but Royal and Langnickel has a Menta set. You can find these even at like Joann Fabrics or Michael's, I think. I've seen them at Joann's. AC Moore used to carry them, but these are about anywhere between like $3 to $5 a pop. And so you could just go buy that one brush you need. And the watercolor ones are synthetic, but they're very absorbent. This is one of the all media ones, which is Taklon. But the watercolor ones are very absorbent. They're not quite as resilient and snappy as a Creative Mark, but if you're on a budget, they really can't be beat. They're a great option, and you can go right into a store and buy them, and they might be on sale. If you go to like Joann's, you could use a coupon and save some money that way. All right, now I lost my spot. Okay. Gina says she has the Schrifters Farben watercolors and she gave them to her son. I don't know if she didn't like them or she just had other ones. Carol Stain says, see, even you can learn something new with your art. I'm learning new stuff all the time, Carol. I don't think you can ever learn it all. I don't think you're going to get to the end of your life. It's like, well, I learned it all. Time to go. Time for the good Lord to call me home. I've learned it all. No, I don't think that happens. I think you can always keep learning. And if it wasn't for the artists that came before us, we would be starting from scratch. We don't even start from scratch. We start from the benefit of all the artists that came before us, all of our teachers, all of the greats, and we stand on their shoulders and we learn more. And we have so much to thank them for getting us this far, and then we go further. At least that's how I look at it, and that's what we can aspire to. Rhonda asks, what's my favorite travel brushes? My favorite travel brushes are the Cheap Joe's Pseudo Sable. Actually, in particular, the Cheap Joe's Pseudo Sable number 12. That brush will do the work of from the finest line to the juiciest wash. That I can say undoubtedly best travel brush. Close second, and now that one will run you probably about 20, 25 bucks. But close second are these guys here, this set from Amazon. I have it on my favorites page over on Amazon, but this is a set of 3. Now, I was hoping that the 12 in this set was going to be like the Cheap Joe's one, but it's more like an 8 or a 10. So this is the Cheap Joe's 12 is like double this size. This is more like what I would consider like a size 8. But sometimes brush sizes aren't consistent, but this is a pretty decent set. You're not going to get the real big juicy wash, which is what I really like. I like to be able to cover a lot of ground, but these are not bad. And if you like the smaller sizes, they're a good brush. They're Taklon. They're not like a synthetic squirrel or a synthetic sable, but they're not bad. They're good for the price. I think I paid $12 for this, but I think the regular price is like $16. I bought it on Prime Day just, because I've been curious about it. But they're not bad. But then again, did I need them? No, I had the Cheap Joe's, and I really like their travel brushes. I'm not affiliated in any way with them, but man, I do really like that. I'm still scrolling back, so if you've posted a question more frequently, more recently, oh my goodness, I will get to that. Oh yeah, painting parties. This is like a painting party. Let's see. Will you do a background on this? No, I'm not going to do a background on this. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I love the looseness of it. But I might experiment more with these pencils. I'm thinking I discovered something when I was doing that Michael's live stream. I had my paper tape down and I was scribbling my watercolor pencils on the tape, and that was making a really great little temporary palette. I think I might try scribbling some of those out on some tape or a sanded palette or something where I can get some pigment and try applying them to the paper wet and seeing what I can get. But I'm not going to put a background on these. I think this is kind of fun the way it is, and I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, I think I'm caught up in the back end. I'm just going to go for more recent questions. So last call for questions. If you have any, please type them in the comments. Oh, AB Create With Me says they have a travel set of mimics at Jerry's if you catch them on sale. Yeah, they should be just like these. I don't have them. And the only reason I don't have them is because they're kind of small for what I would need. So I didn't order them or request them. I do have a couple signature sets with them. So when they do have new products, they do usually ask me if I'd like to try them. But there's also a small flat. I think if you're using gouache, I think they'd be a great brush, or like if you're using watercolor crayon, watercolor pencil in the field, which I usually don't because it feels like a lot to carry when I'm going out to draw. I prefer more absorbent brushes that I can cover more area with. So that's just a personal preference. I'm sure the brushes are great. But if you want the one brush to do it all, I would say the Cheap Joe's Pseudo Sable number 12. If anybody has a travel set from Jerry's and they want to chime in, that would be wonderful. Ridkill K says the Royal Menta are at Michael's now for a set of 5 for a 9-ish, and you can use the 40% off. Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't know I don't know if Michael's is doing the 40% off coupons anymore, but they always have a 20% off online or on the app. We just got a Michael's in Bangor this year. We've never had one up here before. So that's good to know. Our Michael's I don't think they've fully got all their stock in yet because of the pandemic, but that's really good to know. I think the regular price on those Mentas are more than reasonable as well. Princeton the Princeton Snap line is also really good too. I don't know if AC Moore used to have that. I don't know if any of the other big box stores have that, but the Princeton Snaps are good. Ocean State Job Lot has some Princeton value packs that I know that is just like a Northeast chain, but they're a really great value. They get the job done. They're nice brushes, definitely for the price. Let's see. Someone said that Gina, was responding to Gina, said the Schiffer-Farben set of 48 are the same as Superior, but I think the set of 12 might be Mungio. I had wondered that too. That's one of the things you guys have to watch out when you're buying a watercolor set from one of the budget brands, is that sometimes they're different size sets or different products altogether. Like I found the set of 48 Doodle Hog watercolors, which were like $16. So I mean, I was like, hey, I need a new tin. So even if the paint is junk, I need that's a good price for the tin and 48 pans. They were identical to the Master's Touch set of 48. But the 36 set of Doodle Hogs, I purchased the 48 set on my own, but then they hired me to do a video for them, and they sent me the 36 set. They were completely different paints. They were like, I'm like, these are just like the Altenew paints. And then as I started to like dig down deeper, it's like, and they're the same as the artsy paints, and they're the same as the art whale paints. They're much better paint, and they were cheaper. It was like $12 for 36 colors, and they were fantastic. Completely different from the 48 set, which I thought was fair for $16, because a tin would have cost you that much. But it's funny, different size sets from different brands will be completely different paints. I think Art and Fly is the same situation. The 72 set was different than what the 48 set was because they come from different factories. And it's just, it's kind of buyer beware. I think it's kind of fun because I like to figure out who's making what, but it could be frustrating. Like if you watch a review for a paint and you're like, oh, well, she liked that set of 12. I'm going to buy the set of 48. And then it's totally different. All right. Did I miss any? Okay, I think I'm caught up there in case any new ones. Question, have you ever experienced Arch's watercolor paper where the sizing has gone bad? I think it happened to me. Personally, I haven't had that happen with Arches. I've had some Strathmore where the sizing's gone bad and some Winsor Newton Cotman where the sizing has gone bad. But you can buy watercolor sizing. I tried to make a DIY size and it didn't work. I just, it was a big disappointment. So I know I mentioned that video at one point. I was going to post it, but it didn't work. So, and I've never purchased the commercial watercolor sizing because it was kind of, the paper that I had with the sizing went bad was just cellulose paper. It kind of really wasn't worth the expense. But for arches, it probably would be worth resizing it, or you could gesso it and use it for oil paints or acrylic paints, or you could use watercolor ground on it. Although watercolor ground's kind of expensive, and it kind of you don't have that watercolor paper feel anymore. I think I would just use it for gouache, or you know, do maybe like pastel or something. Do a watercolor underpainting or an acrylic underpainting and use them for pastel. Jody says Arches is overrated. I've heard the Arch quality, their paper Arches, their quality's gone down over the past couple of years. But I haven't bought any of their paint recently because I stock up when I find deals. And so a couple of years ago, I got a couple blocks that came with like 6 tubes of Winsor Newton watercolor. One came with 6 tubes of Winsor Newton watercolor, or maybe I got 2 of those. Another one came with Rembrandt watercolors in the tubes. And so, if you saw my tube storage video, you see how I have a problem with watercolor tubes, but it doesn't go bad, and I can keep refilling my pans. So yeah, I stock up when the price is good if I know I'm going to use it. So I haven't had to buy Arches paper in years, and my sizing's all held up, but I store my full sheet paper upstairs in a big flat file under my bed, so it doesn't have the fluctuation or any humidity. It stays constant all year. And I think that's the key to keeping your watercolor paper good, is to keep it away from humidity. I know somebody that was a huge fan of Whatman paper, and they stopped making it in like the 60s or 70s. And so he bought like a humongous ream. It was like he paid like, I think like $1,500 for this ream of Whatman paper, and it's still working great. And he loves it because of the sizing of it. But it's from 50-year-old paper, practically 40-year-old paper, and it's still doing great. Okay, I'm just double checking. Oh, I think I got a couple questions. Have you ever experienced, okay, I got that one. Second question, what are your favorites for a non-exorbitant cotton-based watercolor sketchbook? My favorite one, my friend Rosie made me out of Arches paper, actually. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have any other cotton sketchbooks. I think all my cotton paper is in pads and blocks. So I'd say make your own with a paper you like. Um, I know Etcher has a cotton sketchbook. I've heard people say good things about that. Honestly, I'm kind of cheap with my sketchbooks. I like the Arteza like tan linen colored sketchbooks. I like the Stillman and Byrne Beta mixed media sketchbook for watercolor. I guess when I use a sketchbook, I'm not expecting a miracle. I'm not expecting a masterpiece. So I don't expect the paper to be, top of the line. If I know I want to make something that's going to be really, saved for the future, I'll use just watercolor paper. I am loving the Hahnemühle watercolor paper lately, their cotton watercolor paper. I just tried the collection. I really like that. I've been using their Cezanne for years, and I would say consider that if you like Arches paper. It's also vegan, and so it doesn't use an animal sizing, which I think it might be the animal sizings on these papers that if something's going to go bad with them, I think it might be that. Where if it's a synthetic sizing, I think it's a little bit more durable. Artistico by Fabriano uses a synthetic sizing as well, but I don't find it to be sized as much as I like. I like a heavier sized paper, so I do use it, but I prefer a heavier sized paper personally. And I have some older Fabriano Uno, which is before they before they renamed it, and that was a very soft paper, but it's really great for colored pencils. And I probably shouldn't say it out loud, or I'll have colored pencils artists breaking into my house to try to steal my old Fabriano hot press and soft press papers. But Fabriano was changing their sizing on their Artistico. So if you like what they do already, I would buy what you need now, because they're going to be changing their sizing, or they're changing their sizing they just changed it. So if you like the sizing of the Fabriano now, I would definitely pick up what you want, because they're probably going to a more heavily sized paper. I would think so anyways. That would be my hope, but I would be frustrated if I liked their paper the way it is. I like their paper fine the way it is. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, so I guess I don't really have a recommendation for a cotton sketchbook, but I would say I really like the Stillman and Bird Mixed Media Beta series, because it's consistent. It's very similar to the Arteza one, but the Arteza sketchbooks can be inconsistent. I think it's because they have another factory make them, and they don't have the quality control. Stillman and Byrne is like very consistent book to book in my experience. Hi, Tani. She jumped in at the end. Well, you can always catch a replay, so don't worry about that. Alex asked about a pencil sharpener. Oh, I'm sorry, Alex. I missed that. Are you asking for? I was going to assume you're asking for a recommendation for a pencil sharpener. Um, I have a couple. The one that I use the most is discontinued, unfortunately, because I've had it for a long time and I bought it at Ocean State Job Lot, so it was probably a discontinued model when I got it. But it's the 4A brand, which I think it's either Office Max or Office Depot's house brand. We don't have that store up here, so I can't say for sure. But the brand is 4A, and I don't know if I can pull it over. It's plugged in. Oh, I think I can. The cord might be long enough, probably because of the way my camera is in a wide shot. But it's plugged in. This is as close as I can get it. But this is what it looks like. Get one that's got like it's got this size here, which is your standard pencil. So my Prismacolors, for instance, it's got the tinier one, just very slightly smaller, which is great for the budget pencils. They have a slightly smaller barrel. And then it's also got the slightly larger pencils, which fit my Derwents, which is excellent because the Derwents are just a little chunkier than the other pencils and they won't fit in a regular sharpener. This is a little bit slow, and I don't know if it's a little slow because it's older or because just as a slower model. I don't know. I never really noticed it was slow until I got this one, which I'm hesitant to recommend for a couple of reasons. This only will fit my Prismacolor and smaller, so it's like a standard only. But it does sharpen really fast and it holds a really good charge. I charged it up when I got it like a month ago, and it sharpened really well. I haven't found it to eat my pencils, but somebody else got the same one and said it was eating her pencils. So I I don't know if it's a quality control issue. And also, this is supposed to be able to dial like for different sharpnesses, but I found it makes no difference when I change the dial to different sharpnesses. It seems to be the same. I think this is supposed to be a clone of an AFMAT sharpener. This is by Office World. It's about 35 bucks. So I'm hesitant to recommend it, even though this has worked really well for me. It only gives me a really sharp point, and it only takes my Prismacolor or smaller, so it won't do any of my Derwent pencils. So that's kind of a lot of real estate and a lot of money for not sharpening all my Derwents, which I have quite a bit of. I mean, it would do the watercolor pencils. The Derwent hexagonal pencils, it will sharpen, but the Derwent round pencils, it won't. So anyway, I think the AFMAT is about $17, and I think it's adjustable, but I've never used it, so I'm really nervous to recommend a pencil sharpener I've never used. But the 4A, it's slower, but it works really good. So I guess I would recommend that brand, but honestly, it's kind of tough to beat just a cheapo little metal handheld sharpener. You can even replace the blades if you can find them. The problem is the blades are usually as expensive as just buying a new sharpener, which is kind of a bummer. But these, I think, were from a sketching kit set from Royal 9 Nickel. I just use those a lot. I'll tell you what I don't recommend. I don't recommend the T-Gal multi-point sharpener. That's a little plastic handheld one. I found it wore out really quickly. It wouldn't sharpen my larger pencils, wouldn't sharpen my Derwents. And after a while, the point thing, before it was even worn out, well, it would still sharpen. The point thing adjuster would stop working. There's no way to replace the blade, and you get a big hunk of plastic you're throwing away, and it's kind of expensive for what it was. It was like, I don't know, $6, I think, for a disposable sharpener that's no better than, that little metal one that came free with a sketching kit. So I guess I'm not really that big of a help with pencil sharpeners. A lot of people recommend the Dahl, DAHL, I believe, sharpener. I think it's a hand crank one. A lot of color pencil artists, a lot of adult colorers recommend that one, but I've also seen very mixed reviews on that. So I got some that work, so I haven't really looked much because it just seems like a crapshoot, and I feel like I can't recommend anything because there's so many. I think they just pump out these pencil sharpeners so fast, and there's not very much quality control, so it's almost like a gamble with sharpeners. And you can always use a knife, like you can whittle it, use a knife, and I do that a lot with watercolor pencils where I don't need a sharp point and I want to conserve my lead. So yeah, sorry, I absolutely helped you none. That was a horrible answer, but there you have it. It's honest anyway. All right, I'm gonna do my last sweep for questions. Guys, thanks so much. I have no idea how many people joined us today because that information is not on this screen. This is the first time I've used this go live on YouTube button with my webcam since they've changed things over. Oh, somebody recommend the Faber-Castell one with the 3 different holes. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good one. I have that one kicking around somewhere, and I haven't had to change a blade on it, so I guess that's pretty good. And it holds the shavings, so that's nice. Oh, okay. Alex says he's using the Prismacolor sharpener, but his hand starts to cramp. Oh, that's one. I think that one's designed so you turn the sharpener, not the pencil, so it kind of looks like a bullet. And I gotta tell you, I turn the pencil. I know people say you're supposed to turn the sharpener, not the pencil, but I turn the pencil. It's probably why I have good luck with electric sharpeners because I hold the pencil still and the blades turn around it. Um, and I like ones that have a helical blade that kind of grind the wood away. Those tend to be the best for not breaking my pencils. But yeah, I've just never old habits die hard. I've never been able to get in the hang of turning the sharpener, not the pencil. But the Prismacolor is meant for that, I think. Um, oh, and Jody sharpens with the utility knife. That's a great tip. Question: what are some watercolor paper brands with heavy sizing, please? The Hahnemühle Cezanne. I think the Hahnemühle collection is also heavily sized. I find if you want like Arches has always been or Arch has always been a heavily sized paper. One paper I'm dying to try, but I can't seem to find it in America. And I tried ordering on Jackson's, but something happened. I couldn't like fulfill. I couldn't like it wouldn't let me pay. But I don't know what was, maybe I ordered something weird they couldn't ship. I'm not sure. But one paper I really want to try is Milford. I hear that's an extremely heavily sized paper. Jackson sells it. But for whatever reason, I don't know if maybe I was trying to order full sheets and they wouldn't ship them. I'm not sure. But Milford is supposed to be a really heavily sized paper that I haven't tried, but I want to. And for cellulose paper, I find Montville, Canson Montville to be pretty heavily sized because you can get some really fun effects if you like to do wet and wet, if you like to encourage those blooms. And oddly enough, uh, the Canson Montville in the blocks and the Canson Montville rough seem to be super heavily sized. At least they used to be. I haven't bought it recently, but that was my experience. If you like that sort of thing, which I do. Question from Say Ram Hong. How do you blend color pencil touch-up finishes on watercolor pieces? I use color pencil to add details to my portrait paintings, but the pencil strokes show heavily, and I'm afraid to use odorless mineral spirits. Well, you can use a like a clear alcohol blending marker if you don't want to use odorless mineral spirits. The mineral spirits shouldn't bother your watercolor pencil, your watercolor paint underneath, because watercolor paint is not watercolor paint is affected by water, but it's not affected by solvent. It's like those two medias don't see each other. So if you used an alcohol blender, I'll show you what it looks like. And there's different brands. I'll grab a couple just to. Oh, I might only have one. This is one brand, but this one might be one. This one, this is probably just a really light color, but they just look like regular markers, but they'll say colorless blender on them, or they might have like a 0 on the end. Prismacolor are available open stock in most art and craft stores, and they're about $4. At least they used to be. Maybe they're 5 or 6 now. But the Prismacolor one, I don't think I have a Prismacolor blender in here, but this is a Prismacolor marker. What I really like is they have a tip that's a tri-nib. This is an awesome tip. Now, this is just a light walnut. This is not a clear one, but it will look clear. It will look white rather. And I love the nib that they have, the chisel nib. It's very resilient, and you can really kind of push that pigment for your color pencil around and get it smoothed out. And it's not going to make your paper swell or do anything. Odorless mineral spirit should be fine as well. It shouldn't do anything to your paper. But if you're concerned, use an clear alcohol marker to blend it. Test it on a scrap if you're concerned, but that will work really well. You can also use a clear blending pencil, but that might add a shiny spot to your paper that you might not like. If you work on a hot press paper for your portraits, you shouldn't get too much grain from your color pencils, especially if you're using them really sharp. That should be able to get in the nooks and crannies of your paper with no problem, and then you don't have to blend it out. I rarely blend out with mine. I just did this portrait, and I did end up doing some colored pencil details, and I didn't find it to be grainy at all because I had the pencils really sharp. This is the Hahnemühle collection, by the way, that I was mentioning, really liking. That's what it looks like if you're ordering it. And it's much less than Arches, at least in America. So if you live in Europe, if you live in Germany, it's probably a steal. I don't know, but I'm really enjoying. I don't know if there's any of their papers I don't like. The only complaint I have on any of their papers would be that they had a watercolor book that was toned gray, and I felt it was too light. It's like either make it a little bit darker so I can use gouache on it and get a contrast with white, or make it white, you know? I love their toned tan though. That's really pretty. It's kind of hard to find though now. Um, oh, let's see. I've got a question from Brett here. Would you put them in a Mylar envelope with a mat board, maybe a port? Oh, that's question 3 of 3. I'm sorry. I've got to go back here, Brett. I missed your other questions. Okay, I see. If you have, say, 5 finished pieces of no more than 9 by 12, how would you store them long term, not framed, so no bends or acid issues? Um, I keep them in a portfolio. I get like a fabric. I usually, there's a couple different kinds. I just make sure it's acid free. They have like plastic ones, or they have fabric ones. I usually get the fabric ones that zip up, and I usually will put like a piece of acid free mat board or foam core if it doesn't have a stability, a stable like board in there. And I store them in there. So they're zipped up, they're away from dust, they're away from moisture. And I leave them there until I'm ready to frame them. And I just keep adding more to it. You can probably put, like for watercolors, you could probably put like 100 watercolors in one. If you're on a budget, they make ones that are like a paper, like, or even like a plasticky fabric. And I will get different sizes so I can keep like my 9 by 10s, my 9 by 12s together, my 22 by 30s together, just so I have different sizes. And then I keep completely separate ones for pastel, because in my pastel, I actually will wrap in glassine, and then I will put them in my pastel only portfolio so I don't have migration, and I don't get like pastel or charcoal on any of my watercolors if anything does happen to migrate. And oh, so would you put them in a Mylar envelope with a mat board? Brett, I don't put anything in plastic sleeves unless I'm shipping or selling. I just leave them, I leave them free. I think it's good to have, I wouldn't want to store it in plastic, because then you have the chance of getting condensation, especially if you move locations. If you have it like it could be in a plastic bag, like an acid-free bag, and you're storing it in your basement, or you live in a humid area, and then you take it to a craft fair or an art fair to sell, and it's warmer or hotter or sunny, you're going to see beads of water on that plastic, and you're going to have to open everything and air it out, and it's kind of a pain. So I wouldn't package it till I'm ready to sell it or ready to ship it. I can't believe how long we've been streaming, guys. Oh, okay. We've got another vote for the Stillman and Byrne mixed media papers, the Zeta, Beta, and Alpha. And they're all good with watercolor. That's awesome, with many washes. Oh, that's great to know, because I've only tried the Beta. I haven't tried any of the other ones. Okay. Ellen asks, any questions? Oh, wait. Okay. Ellen asks, is Mungio and Arteza watercolors the same? Sadly, no, they are not. The Mungios are much better than the Artezas. And Julie asks, any tips on using watercolors on an easel? My back won't let me work flat. If you can get they make easels called Lobos, and you can actually tip them from flat to straight. So you can have it flat when you do your wash, and you can stand while you're doing that, and then you can have it upright when you're doing your drier layers. I think Steve at Mind of Watercolor uses an easel quite frequently. I would check out his videos, because I tend to work flat with watercolor. I wouldn't be a good person to advise on that. Okay, I'm going to go to the end, because I think I have caught up. Gina says the Arteza tube's cracked. Yeah, it'll do that. I add glycerin to mine, and they still even crack a little bit, but it keeps them from falling out of the pans. Question: I've seen a lot of videos comparing so many budget brands to polychromos lately. Do you have a favorite of the bunch? So many pencils, but so little storage. Polychromos, I would say the Deli or the Mark Art are probably, well, I'd probably say the Deli are pretty close. The Speer Farben seem to be fairly close, and the Cezanne seem to be fairly close. Um, but the thing is, if you're going to buy more than like 2 sets of budget pencils, you might as well buy the polychromos if you know that's what you want. Um, Polychromos are going to be more pigmented. They're firmer than like Prismacolor. Uh, they're a little drier feeling. I would say probably the Delis are the closest to the polychromos. Um, oh, Wolf Sig, thank you, Wolf Sig, for the $5 super chat. She says, thanks for all your advice, Lindsay. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. That's very kind of you. I think my favorite budget set, though, of all budget sets, color pencils are the Brute squares. They're about $30 for 120. They're soft like Prismacolor. So I like the soft pencils, but that's my personal preference. So I would honestly, I think I would say if you know you want polychromos and space is an issue, I think I'd get a small set of polychromos and just add pencils to it as needed. Because if you know that's what you want, then get it. If you're not like that picky, if you don't really, you're not cared about light fastness or anything like that, then any of the budget sets that are decent will probably fit the bill. Oh, Jody. Okay. Jody said Jackson seems to be actually very honest about their ability to ship on a day-to-day basis. If it doesn't work one day, try another. Yeah, I probably should have just emailed customer service, but you know what? My cart was like $400, and I was like, I am like, I need to step back. So when the payment didn't go, when I couldn't like get the pay button to work, I was like, you know what? I probably need to reevaluate my life choices and use what I have. Okay. Goodness, am I? Oh, Rhonda says she tried to order from Jackson's, but she couldn't because of the pandemic. It wouldn't go through. It was before the pandemic when I was trying to order mine. I also had a set of 48 Schmincke watercolors in there. Yeah, I was going crazy. Like, well, if I'm ordering from that, I might as well. But they were way cheaper there than they are in America. I'll tell you that. Oh, Brett says the comb sharpener. I forgot about that. That one does work really great. That I like there's one with 2 holes where you can sharpen a blunt point and then you can sharpen a fine point. If you go into the other hole, that works pretty well too. I don't know why, it seems mine dull, like the blade's dull and the comb sharpener faster than other sharpeners. I don't know why. Maybe it's just that I used it more. It's probably why. All right. Am I caught up? Alex says, I got the 150 set of Prismacolors and I wanted to compare the two, but I was running low on space. Oh, I love that set. I love the Prismacolors. Oh, Mungio. Oh, it's pronounced Mungio. Oh, okay. Thank you. That's always good to know. Mungio. I'll have to try to remember that. Mungio. I've always said Mungio. Mungio. Okay, that's good. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I think I'm caught up. I appreciate you guys all joining today and sketching along. These deer are so cute. Oh my gosh. I'm actually going to, I love this page. I love surprise deer. I love munching deer. Yeah, nonchalant deer. This was fun. I appreciate it. Thank you for shopping. Thank you for being such a dear and drawing with me today. And now I think I'm going to go have some lunch and I'm going to go catch up. I've been watching the Hulu show Nine Perfect Strangers and there's a new episode on Wednesday. So I think I'm going to make myself a lunch and I'm going to watch some TV. So I'm going to go be lazy. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, if you gave me a thumbs up before you go, I would really appreciate it. It helps tell YouTube that this video is valuable and other people should watch it as well. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up button before you go, I would surely appreciate it. And with that, I will bid you adieu. And thank you so much. Happy crafting.